Welcome everyone to a very special interview. I have with me two of the finest Star Trek scholars with me to talk about the finer details in things of Trek. Please, Bernd, Schneider, and from Twitter and also writing for Astris, Jörg, Hillebrand. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us and helping us support the World Central Kitchen. Let's do a little bit of introduction to yourselves. Bernd, let's just start with yourself. How did you come to Star Trek? What brought you into this world, and what brought you into obsessing over details, one might say?
I think I have to go all the way back to 1973. That was the time that Star Trek first aired in Germany. It was on Saturday afternoon, more like a children's program at that time. And I don't have so many recollections. I mean, I was like 6 years old and didn't get all of what was going on the screen, but it was people running around in colorful costumes with fascinating technology, with exciting gadgets like the phasers. I think I also built a phaser of Lego at that time.
Oh, wow.
And that was to me one of my best childhood memories, although, as I said, I don't have the specific recollections. I do know that we had one episode on tape. It was The Changeling.
Yes.
And was very, very scary for me as a kid, as the machine was hovering through the ship, and everyone was extremely scared, and that music playing, and for some reason we kept that on video, and I kept watching it as Star Trek was off the air. It was gone for many years.
Do you get shivers down your back when
terrify you?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you get shivers on your back when someone says Roy Kirk?
But I don't think I sustained permanent damage.
No.
Wonderful.
How about you, Jörg? How did you come to Star Trek?
I think the first memory of Star Trek I have is sitting in the playroom, and the TV was running. I was like drawing something, and The Devil in the Dark was on TV, and I was just, found it super interesting to see this funny brown creature, and that is the very first memory I have of ever watching Star Trek. But then I quickly forgot about it, and I remember coming to my friend Andy's home in, like, I guess 1991 or 1992, and he had recorded some TNG episodes, and he was watching a first season episode. And I thought, what is Kirk doing there? And he said, that's not Kirk, but he looks like Kirk. No, his name is Riker. So then, that tells you how little I knew about Star Trek at the very beginning. And just at his place, we would watch the TNG episodes he had recorded from a German TV station called ZDF. And then, when it re-aired on another German TV station, I just, said, it's fun watching this at Andy's place, so I can watch it at home also. And then I, kept watching. And then on the 20th of October, 1994, I decided I didn't just want to watch, but also to take notes. And that is, how I basically became a Trekkie. It's the day I'm still celebrating with my friends, and it's the 30th anniversary this year. Oh my God.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. So it really began with TNG. And the first TNG episode I remember actually watching is also a scary one. At least it scared me when I was younger. The Royale, the skeleton, Colonel Richard's skeleton in the bed. So that is the very first memory I have of TNG.
In my case, it was not an exact date. Was rather like a slow process. In the 80s, there were the movies. I had them on tape, and then I got into TOS. My father had a satellite dish for his business, and he taped all the episodes for me when all 78 were shown for the first time. have to correct myself, 77.
Okay.
One was still missing, Patterns of Force.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, I got into TNG, and that really got me hooked.
Yeah, me too. TNG, definitely TNG. Yeah.
So, as you've sort of grown up and you've finally absorbed it into yourself that yes, this I like this. What series and characters and ships kind of stood out to you as like, or any iconic moments in the TV shows that stood out to you and went, yeah, I want more of this. This is something that's really resonated with myself. Like, I know a lot of people go, well, like the philosophy and the morals of Picard. A lot of people go, I love the designs of the starships, and that's what brought me in. Like for yourselves, start with you, Jörg.
I remember that when I first started like dreaming I was in the Star Trek universe, or I was on a starship, it was always the Enterprise D. So whenever I read people make comments about the fat one or the ugly one, or doesn't look good, it looks like some kind of, I don't know, chicken or goose or something, I totally don't see that. It's just it's the ship I've grown up with, and the one that I find beautiful, the first starship.
You bring your hands around it and you cradle it.
Yeah, totally. I had one. The very first model ship I built was the Enterprise D, and it hung in my bedroom for I don't know how many years. So it's I'm always drawn back to that ship, not because I want to find out how does this work or where's this located, just because it's the ship that I want to live in, basically. So it's the Enterprise D. And when it comes to finding ships fascinating, there's just this one Alien of the Week ship. It appears in a Voyager episode called Gravity, and it's a renovation team Nova ship. And I just saw this. It just appears like for, I don't know, 10 seconds or even less in 2 scenes. But I just found the designs very interesting because it looks like a mixture of a Klingon and Romulan ship. And I always wanted to get a good look at it, and it was never featured in the Star Trek fact files. So I was always waiting for this ship to get schematics of the ship. And then when I worked on one of the Starship books for Eaglemoss, I finally got my hands on schematics of the ship. So, that is finally when my dream come true of seeing that obscure ship up close. And it's, really low res. But, it did happen in the end. So those are the 2 ships that come to mind.
So for anyone out there that designed a starship for 10 seconds and thinking, no one noticed it. No, there are people like Jörg out there who notice it and love that ship. So take pride in your work.
It made me super happy. And it was never reused again. It only appears in this one episode. So I never wrote an article about it.
Yeah. So there's no article on it.
Nope.
Oh, wow. There's not a Memory Alpha article.
Nope.
Oh, that needs to change.
Yeah.
How about you, Bernd? Sorry.
Favorite starship? I picked the Enterprise D2 because that's a ship. The bridge was more or less like my living room, also because of the carpeted floor, and that's really the place I would feel at home. And the exterior, of course, the graceful lines. That is something that no other design, at least of Starfleet, has ever repeated. So to pack this much volume into such an elegant shape. So it's unmatched. Yeah, so that's for us. Starfleet ships, and regarding alien ships, Klingon Bird of Prey. So that's quite a contrast to the Enterprise D, but I think a nice contrast. And the Klingon Bird of Prey, it represents everything a Klingon culture stands for, and also an unmatched design.
So obviously you talked about some of your favorite series, your favorite, not your favorite ship designs, and guess what? Klingon Bird of Prey is one of the most stark and utilitarian designs I can think of. It's just a perfect statement of intent in a starship form. Do you find like any characters in particular in the shows like inspired you, who maybe like with their personality, their work ethic, their attention to detail? Do you find that they ended up kind of shaping who you were? I often find that for myself, fictional characters can be quite formative. Jörg, do you want to go first?
I think it must be Captain Picard, is just, it sounds kind of crazy, but sometimes in some situations as a teacher, when I'm responsible for a large number of students and there are some disputes between students, I think about, how am I going to go about this? So I think, what would Captain Picard say in this situation? What would he tell the students, or what would he tell his crew? How to deal with the situation? So I guess that really is the character that informed my personality as a grown-up and also as a teacher the most, certainly.
Yeah, Bernd, what about you?
I think in my younger days, I would have said I want to be like Spock. So, so the pure logic and the focus on things, and maybe on things rather than on people. And nowadays, I would tend to say, okay, I would like to be like Captain Picard too, but that is more like a wish. So I know I'm not that diplomatic. I know I must try to motivate people, and Picard is a role model for me, but one I probably can't achieve.
Well, I think Picard himself would tell you it's not about being that person; it's about aspiring and improving.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that all of us would happily celebrate Captain Picard Day.
Yeah. So I don't want to be Captain Picard because assimilation is
not your vibe.
Mechanical heart, the Band syndrome, Let's move on to your website, Astris Scientia, which you set up, Bernd, many years ago, and it's always been a favourite of mine to go back to check like lots of details, lots of interesting things. Definitely the fleet yards and the shipyards and all the things like that, and the wider implication it's had on like the community. There's lots of offshoots. There's lots of sort of community. You've got fan fiction offshoot of it as well. How did Astris come to be? What was your driving force to actually thinking, hey, I'll start a website?
Yeah, that was in the mid-90s when I got connected to the internet, more specifically in 1996. And I started with looking up information on the new movie First Contact, and discovered a whole world of websites. And there were really many websites already in existence at that time. And I think they were even more visible than websites are today. Although most of them were small, they had typically maybe like linked lists was a big thing back in the day. Episode guides, pictures like 400 by 300 pixels, of course, there was a lot room for improvement, but I never wanted to create some sort of mega site. So
did you have one? Did you have one of these just sitting handy?
Yeah, sure. Sure, and it was impossible to compete with that unless you typed the whole content and was unmatched back in the day, and so I tried to find my own niche, and that turned out to be starship design, and came up with the articles, with the Starship database, and had a lot of help from the community as well, especially from the Flare forums. They still exist today, and has become a bit quiet, but so basically the people are all still around. I then added a variety of other topics, like the episode reviews. Of course, everyone must have them in some form.
Oh yeah,
everyone's got to pitch in.
But starships. That's still the core of the site. Besides, of course, all the stuff that Jörg suggested to add, and that is another focus. We'll probably talk about that. The symbols, the alien starship investigation, the TNG observation articles, the chairs.
Yeah, classical music, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an encyclopedia for the fans who want to know the extra miles. Like I was going to bring this up later, but the chairs. I love the chairs section on the website because it lists the make and the model, and go and check it out if you're interested in thinking, hey, I'd quite like that chair in my house. It probably is still for sale.
Unfortunately, you have to buy them somewhere else. We're not an online shop. But everything else you can
get some nice
videos.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because if I recall, the very first time I ran into it at Astris Scientia, it was I think back in 2009. Because I got way back in because of the first J.J. Abrams movie.
Yeah,
and I remember seeing the redesigned Enterprise and thinking, that's an interesting take, but there's something a bit weird about it. And then I think I remember seeing an article going on talking about the fact that it was scaled wrong. Like the fact that it's twice as big as it should be if you look at stuff like the windows and like the shuttles. And I remember thinking about it, and I was like, and it just completely shattered the movie magic for me, but in a way that I was like, but that's interesting though, because the fact that it scaled it wrong there means that it's scaled correctly elsewhere. There is a consistent scale across the universe, and I had a copy of the encyclopedia when I was growing as well. I had the size charts, and I was always just like fascinated by seeing how things scaled up. I was like, wait, but what do you mean the Enterprise E is like shorter? But it's like, why would it not be
actually size charts are still the most controversial content still today.
How big is a bird of prey, really?
That's contentious.
So everyone will have objections.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help when it's like they use the exact same bird of prey model for 16 different subclasses, but that's getting into the weeds. But again, that's kind of what we're here for. So, what you want to talk about some of your motivations and inspirations towards what the site could provide? Because I find that it's up there with Memory Alpha in terms of you really want to talk about the nitty gritty of what Star Trek is as a living, breathing world. I can't think of much that kind of matches the sheer passion you guys have put in. So speaking as someone who is literally staring at a desktop full of work in progresses, do you want to talk about what some of your what really pushes you to go, okay, this one I really, really want to finish? Is there a particular subject matter that pushes you to finish one article over the other? Or is it just a case of you find the flow comes with some over the others?
So, you want to start, Bernd, or?
Maybe I start because I don't have anything like a list of items that I work off. There's no priority list because that would be much the same as working in my company. Of course, working in my company is fun too, but I don't want to do exactly the same in my spare time. So exactly, so I decide on a day-to-day basis what to take care of next, and I don't take on topics that I know I'm very busy the next couple of weeks, maybe months, and I don't take on an article that needs weeks of research. So that dictates what I can take care of.
And for me right now there's no new Star Trek episode on shown, so I just go back to TNG and currently going through season 4. This morning I worked on Half Alive, the Loxana and Dr. Timmerson episode, and I just checked I checked the old observations articles that are already at Astris, and then I just see what did I find the first time around when I did this more than 10 years ago. And I watch the episodes over and over again, sometimes with my friends, and then I find new things. And I think, what keeps me going is I just want to, get to the next episode and the next episode, because you might know the observation articles, they stop towards the end of season 6 of TNG. And of course I want to finish them, but I also want to do the same for, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, or the other Star Trek shows.
Someday.
It'll be decades, I guess, at the speed that I'm working. But, I'm always looking forward to that. And, sometimes when I do have some time and I already did my Star Trek research in the morning and, playing PlayStation games, I'm thinking, no, I want to go back to the computer and do some more and maybe do another location on the Enterprise that you see in an episode, that kind of brings me slowly closer and closer to the latest episodes. And sometimes, like when the captain's chair came up and was to be auctioned off, that was kind of the stuff that I dug into and went through all the episodes to look for some proof that it's the actual chair and how far the chair had changed. Sometimes I just find something in an episode and then I spent a few days, maybe a few weeks just working on that. So I always say I want to get it out of my system. I want to know, when was something changed, why was it changed, and when did it start, and how does it continue? How will it, change in the future? So it's just something that kind of piques my interest. And sometimes it's some chair that you see in some episodes. Sometimes, the captain's chair was a very special chair, not bought, but specially made. Sometimes it's because Shakespeare's books. Like yesterday, it was Dr. Crusher's lab coat and where she puts her communicator. Her com badge, because I realized that in the early seasons it's always on a uniform under the coat, and then somewhere in season 4 she puts it outside on the coat, and I wanted to find out when did it change. So I went back all the episodes to find the exact one where it changed, and then I tried to find out why does it change. And my current theory is that it must have something to do with Gates McFadden being pregnant, and for several reasons that I think this might be the reason why they changed it. I'll talk about this later when I reach the episode where you first see the code, the different code or the different communicator. So it's, it's crazy. Just some things that I notice and I want to get it right. And I want to find out why was something changed? Why is it like that? And it might be something completely different the next day.
You might mark this as a spoiler.
It's a spoiler. So I guess at my current time, I'll write about this in about a year or so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's excellent.
Patience. Yeah.
Let's talk about first contacts. Bernd, you started your website many years ago. How did you two get in touch with each other, and how did that come to be, the meeting of inquisitive minds?
When we got our first computer in the late 90s, I wanted to look, at that time I had been a Trekkie for 5 years, and I had all kinds of behind the scenes books, because I personally just read those books. I don't read any Star Trek novels or something, or comics. I just read the behind the scenes books, the encyclopedia, the chronology, all the episode guides. And there was nothing really about starships. So that was the first thing I searched online. And I think the very first thing I found was the Starship database, where I could, find all those starships, and especially side views, which I absolutely love, to get a good look at what they look like from the side. So, that is how I discovered Astris in the beginning. And then when I got TNG on DVD, I could take screenshots. So that meant I could just take a screenshot of one starship from one episode and then compare it to a screenshot from another episode to see if it actually was a reuse of a starship model. Because I couldn't do this before when I just had Star Trek on video cassette. I remember actually taking my camera and taking photos of the screen, and I had them printed out then, like with a film roll, like the way you did it in the past, and then compared stuff. And of course that didn't work, it took too long. But when I was able to take screenshots, then I noticed some things, and then I noticed something that Bernd hadn't noticed before. I think he wrote an article about Kazon cockpits, Kazon ships.
It was the Kazon.
So then I, gathered the screenshots and wrote an email to Bernd, and that's how it started. Yeah. And the article is still around, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Very first one. And all because of the Kazon brought you together.
Yeah.
Definitely starships. It started with starships, absolutely. Yeah.
feel like he does for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So speaking of of screenshots and the comparison of ships, the TNG remaster with all the redone effects and the cleaned up footage, that must have been quite the investment of time for you both in terms of replacing screenshots and the changes. Because I remember there's a pretty infamous goof in, I think it's like a season 4 or 5 episode, where you see them firing phasers out of a photon torpedo tube or something like that, and then they fixed that in the HD remaster.
Narmok.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I'm thinking of. So like, how did that? That must have been quite a time impact. Having, I mean, obviously a lot of fun because you guys seem to love rewatching TNG over and over again. Guess what? Everyone does. It's an infinitely rewatchable show. But that must have been quite a time investment in analyzing the comparisons and working out what had changed and what hadn't.
Yep.
So, if I remember correctly, what I did, I mean, it's been like more than 10 years now, but what I did is before the new season was released, I watched the episodes just on DVD and took my general notes, noticing everything that I found. And then when the episode was released on Blu-ray, I watched it again and, found new things, and found some mistakes that had been fixed. And then I send the preliminary versions where I just had the DVD screenshots to you first, Bernd, or did I wait?
Yeah, okay. That's the way we did it. Actually, I wrote an article on that too. The making of the observations. It's outdated by now because things work a bit differently on my side. But we summed up the hours that we spent on each step, and I don't remember the exact figures. You work like 8 to 10 hours on compiling the preliminary version. Then I work like 8 hours on putting together the article from the preliminary version. Then you research the changes in the Blu-ray version. Then I put the changes in the Blu-ray version into the article. Then I make some final final changes. Bring it online. It all amounts to more hours, and as time progresses, you will find more things to note in the episode, and that adds a couple of hours more to the overall effort. So it's more like maybe 30, 40, 50 hours per episode. I don't know exactly.
And I moan when I have to do 10 minutes of editing. So.
But the thing is with Star Trek, that I still find new things. I recently did Remember Me. Well, not recently. I worked on Remember Me like a few months ago, several months ago. But I wrote about it a few weeks ago. And this is the episode of Star Trek that I have watched the most often because, like, similar to the story that Bernd told about the Changeling, it was the only episode I had on video cassette for like I think at least 6 months. So I watched it over and over again, and I know it. I know everything about that episode. Everything
wrong with
visual
you,
that you can see.
And it must be the universe's fault.
I know. Computer, what is that? No, not the mist. The mist I see on the. Oh, that's an infamous. It's an infamous German dubbing mistake in the episode. What I wanted to say is, I'm watching this episode and thinking, there can't be much new in that one, and I still find new stuff, and that is what makes me so happy because I still find new things, and I also still forget old things I'd already found. And when I watch the episode again after 5 years and find something, I'm happy because I find something new, and then I realize, I found this already, but I'm still happy because I forgot about it. So it's going to always give me joy watching Star Trek and analyzing Star Trek like that, and until the day I die, basically.
You found out that one take of Dr. Crusher rushing through engineering was used twice.
Oh wow!
Once with a crew member standing there, and once again with a crew member edited out.
Right. And I had never seen that before in all the years I'd seen it. And I mean, editing out a moving crew member, that must have back then must have been pretty difficult. And if you really analyze the scene closely, you can see, you can really see how they did it and what changed. And again, when they remastered it, what they did differently and what they might have done better. And sometimes, don't do things as well as they did in the past. So, you know, that thing, because people had told me, oh yeah, didn't they use the same scene twice? I was like, nah. I've seen that episode so often. They don't do that. And then I watched it and I was like, nah, can't be, because there's this crew member. But then I realized, oh, it's Dr. Crusher moving her hand exactly this, you know, the same way. It can't. Something must have been changed or done to the episode. So then I researched it, and that took lots of time, taking screenshots, proper screenshots. And yeah, that was the biggest new thing I found in that episode. Crazy. Totally crazy.
We've never needed a Blu-ray remaster before.
Too fair. If you're gonna get stuck with one episode, that's a pretty good episode. That's a really good like Crusher episode. So you're talking about doing this kind of thing until you die, which, you know, guess what? I'll probably be streaming with Lionel until we both pop our clogs. But you had the great fortune of having been, I assume, paid to work on Star Trek with Picard, right?
I worked on Star Trek, yes.
Guess what?
So,
therefore, we are not worthy.
It gives you all the nerd cred is yours.
And
what was that like?
No, what I wanted to say is working on Star Trek was payment enough, basically, what I wanted to say. And just the honor of being asked to help. And, you know, I was just contacted out of the blue by Dave Blass, and I really had no idea who he was, because at that point, it hadn't been announced that he was working on the show. So I thought at the beginning it was, in inverted commas, just a fan asking me some questions. And I was kind of a little puzzled because of the questions were very specific and talking about NDAs. And I had no idea what an NDA was, so I had to look that up. And after answering some more questions, I looked up his name, and then I found out that, you know, he actually wanted me to help on Star Trek. And then I signed the NDA, and then I just did what I always do. I did research on Star Trek and took screenshots, sent screenshots, wrote texts, and sent them through the production. And then a few years later, I saw the episodes. So
wow,
it is still totally, you know, totally unreal to me. And now that about a year has passed, and I'm starting to forget things, you know, I'm kind of feeling like I'm going back to the way I was and just doing my regular stuff, working on my my Star Trek observations articles, TNG, and working on the new episodes. It's still crazy that I actually got to work on Star Trek and was asked for help and asked for suggestions, and that my name is in the credits. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience. The best experience, absolutely.
Oh, I bet.
Very much so. Yeah.
So a lot of the research that you did a lot of the Section 31, the archives there, didn't you? Sort of looking for various items to put in there and things like that, which I believe you had a lot of fun with. What was that like? Trying to find like, oh, how many interesting things can I put in this museum?
So I had when I was asked to help with that, I had some ideas right away that I just, you know, wrote down and took screenshots and started a grid of where was the object seen, why should it be in the archives, and you know, finding proper screenshots to show it. But then I thought I have to do like thorough research. So I went through episode lists and, you know, basically looked at all the episodes of TOS, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and went like through my head, what happens in the episode? Is there something interesting that could end up in the archive? Then I, you know, quickly watched the episode or to find out, or read the script to find out if it is mentioned in the episode, what happens to the object at the end of the episode. Because sometimes I misremember. Sometimes I thought that an object was still around, but it had been destroyed at the end of the episode, or something else had happened to it. And then I just, you know, went through all the episodes and made the list and compiled screenshots and wrote down little texts why I think something should be added to the archive. So yeah, that was super much fun, because I had no idea what would be seen in the end. I didn't know like that there would be these doors with some animations of those objects. I just, you know, wanted to make lists. I never read any scripts. I was just told there's the starbase and they have some old stuff from old Star Trek episodes that is kept secret. And, you know, can you think of any objects that should be in this archive? And then I think I sent them a list of 80 objects or something. So, and the cool thing always is when it was replied, oh, we already have that one covered, and this one is already in there. And then I was told that Mike Okuda and Doug Drexler also helped with that list. So that was a big honor, kind of working together with them on one specific project in Star Trek Picard. So Yeah, that is how that happened. But that basically only took 1 weekend. There were many other things I worked on, but that is one of my favorite things, definitely. Yeah. I mean, all the carpet research I did for the Enterprise D bridge, for example. So that was just hilarious. Just looking for TNG episodes, to find scenes where somebody falls to the floor or something happens on ground level, to get some good screenshots of the way the carpet looks like. Yeah.
Were there any objects that you were like, I really wish that I'd gotten into the archives that didn't make the cut? Like, is there something that you were like, ooh, this would be a really fun one, but it didn't make it in there? Or did all the ones that you really wanted to make go in there?
If you had asked me a year ago, I would have, had a list, I guess. But right now, I can't. Like, as I said, you find new things and you forget things. And, I'm just happy for all the things that I know came from my list that actually made it on screen. And I could have basically just spent one whole episode walking through the corridors and looking at all the things they have here and reading all the texts that were written for every single object. I got to see, I think Dave posted a video that shows the animations of all the objects and the text that is underneath it. So So, again, I think I forgot which things I suggested. I'm just happy that many things were seen in the end in the episode. So.
No, that's great. So going back to sort of props and things that, anyone that's followed your Twitter profile or your Blue Sky or your Mastodon will know that, you're very much into comparison, finding objects and seeing where they are in different episodes, going from like even cross different franchises. I think lately you've been comparing objects found on TNG to Babylon 5, and you found a few comparisons there. Do you have anything on mind of anything fun or anything interesting that you've found and gone, that's interesting, or something that's a bit more unique than general, sort of like your IKEA brand chair coming across the borders?
Goodness, again, I learn and I forget. There are so many things. Whenever I'm able to identify everyday objects that were modified to make them look like something else, and then they're used on the show, that is always something that I found funny, because I see something in an episode and think, wait a second, that looks like something that I might buy in a supermarket here. And then I do some research, and Bernd also does the same, and look for what might this really have been. And then we might find the exact model that was used. And that is always fun. In this one, in the Deep Space Nine episode, where Odo is kept in stasis in some kind of stasis container, which is actually one of those kind of old-fashioned bread baking machines. I don't even know if people still buy those today.
Yeah.
But that was like, I saw that on the show, and I thought, like, I know what that is. And I think I didn't find the exact model. Bernd found the exact model.
I found a picture of the exact type. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever that happens, that is always interesting. And I think what I like most is when I notice that something was changed in a set. They moved a console, I don't know, just 1 meter to the left. I wonder, why did they do this? There must be a reason, filming wise or production wise, why this was changed. And then I go back through the episodes and look for the moment when it was changed, just like the Dr. Crusher's communicator. And I want to find out, why did they do this? There must be there must be some purpose for this. They do this because they want something to be seen better, or because they want to try out a new camera angle. So whenever I find things like that, and then I find the solution to that, that is, I guess, what makes me happiest. And sometimes it's something that not many people, care about. They care more about me identifying starships or something like that. But it's the small things that make me happy, because I like to look at Star Trek from a production kind of point of view. It was like this before I worked on Star Trek Picard. Now that I actually was allowed to, peek behind the scenes, I like, doing this even more. And I know that people can find all kinds of in-universe explanations why something was changed, but I'm interested in why did production change something around. So that is what I like best. Yeah.
There's one historical example of everyday objects used for model building, the highlighter nacelles. So if I go back to, it was in the year 2000, we researched those Wolf 359 ships, and only had those blurry images of them. And at some point, someone said, "Oh, I know what the pods on the New Orleans class are made of. Those are highlighters." And indeed, those were made from those bulky. I think Boss is the name.
Yeah. I just bought some of those yesterday, actually.
And that totally changed our perspective on how these models were built. And then we saw the Cheyenne class, and the Cheyenne has 4 nacelles, and they are 2 made of highlighters, so of a thinner type with actually some nice ribbed section, and it makes them look like the nacelles of the Enterprise D. So there's even some consistency in the design of the nacelles, just using those highlighters. And that was amazing of how little you can have to put into it to make it look really good.
That's incredible.
And the other way around, nacelles were used as tools. We have examples of, I don't know the episode, Jörg probably can remember them. At one occasion, we see someone holding a nacelle of a Romulan warbird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And doing something with it, and another time I think it was Klingon Vorcha.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to be looking at that.
Jörg, you spotted this. I think it was both on DS9, but I don't remember the exact episodes.
No, I remember that the Vorcha nacelle was used as some kind of drawing tool.
Yeah,
maybe Tora Sial used.
Yeah, I was thinking Sial.
I don't know. And the Warbird nacelle was, I think, a medical scanner or something. So yeah, when you find things like this, and when you identify that, it just makes me happy. I smile and I like, I found something new, and some other people will also enjoy this, and how ingenious they were to use this, and that it took me so many years to realize this finally, and I was happy when I find new things. And that's, as I said, the good thing with Star Trek. There's always new stuff that you can find. Just like the captain's chair. It's in every episode of Star Trek TNG, and I never really paid attention to it because it's just there and it's normal. But if you really focus on something like that, even something small, just this one chair over the course of 6 years, you can find so many changes that were made to it, or that pieces were replaced. And yeah, that really, I don't know, I found this really, really interesting, that even after so many years, if I really want to, I can always find something that I can focus on for weeks and find new things. I mean, do people want to read about this? I don't know, but it just made me happy doing the research. And I know that this helped basically to find out that the chair that was meant to be auctioned off actually looked like that half a season earlier than was listed in the auction listing. So, things like that make me happy.
Yeah, it's like like you mentioned, some people really want to get into like the lore and the in-universe parts of it, but you focus more on the production aspect, because it's humanizing to think of everyone in the production workshop sharing bits and pieces. Like, can I borrow that bit of a nacelle? It's a big perfect thing for this little scene. It's like it's a great little production story. And like that kind of human aspect is really important to Star Trek. It's like it's the far future, but there's still people. But I often find that online versus real life, like obviously I've had my personal experience with meeting people like Idle and like Auto, where it's a case of making that bridge from online handles and anonymity to real life. How do you find sort of people, like, do you talk about the work that you do in real life with, or just like conventions, or do your family sort of like know how invested you are in this? How do they kind of react to that?
I've been to very, very few conventions, and in real life, it's often colleagues that I talk about Star Trek with. and at least those colleagues that dare to talk to me about it. So sometimes someone approaches me with, "Oh, Bernd, I have a question about that episode. Don't you think that there was a mistake somewhere?" And so that's how many conversations start. Of course. Only those people who really dare to speak to me about episodes, because of course most people are just casual fans, and they sometimes watch episodes, and many watch episodes with their kids, which makes me really happy. And so there's always something to talk about, because everyone in the company knows what I'm doing, and so it's rather easy to deal with that.
Yeah. So my case, my closest friends, the ones that I see several times a week, are also Trekkies. So we've had our Star Trek nights for the last, let me think, like more than 25 years. Wow. Usually on Fridays or Saturdays, and right now we are doing, they are coming over every Friday, and we are at the moment watching we always begin with one episode of TNG, and then we watch some other episode. And when there's new Star Trek, we watch the latest episode, and then watch an episode of TNG or some other Star Trek show that has some similarities, some visual similarities, so story-wise. Cool. And when they are just used to me being a living audio commentary. So, we watch something, and they also know that sometimes I stop. Okay, wait a sec. I have to tell you this. Sorry. And they patiently listen to my stories, and I think they still enjoy them. So, I'm so super blessed to have friends who are also Trekkies, that I can, when I have something new to tell them, something that I heard about a new Star Trek show, I can tell them some spoilers. Maybe I was very, I didn't tell them anything, not much about my work on Star Trek Picard. Just that I got another email from Dave. I have to run to the computer now, so just continue watching the episode. I quickly have to do some research for him. That is what I did while I was still working on Star Trek Picard. But I'm super happy that I have those friends, have had those friends for the last 25 years. That I can always talk about any Star Trek topic with. So.
I actually have one buddy, one bestie for like 30 years, and he is lucky because he uses to talk more than I do. Otherwise, it would be really bad for him if I gave some lessons on what is happening and how and why, and it would be hard to endure. Really hard.
Thank you very much, Jörg and Bernd, for joining us for this amazing interview. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. If people wanted to find you, where can they find you? Well, obviously you've got the website, Astris Scientia. You can Google that and find that. Do you have any other links for people that want to get in contact or see your work?
Well, basically, I publish everything on what used to be Twitter, what is now X, on Mastodon, on goodness. I don't even right now know all the sites. What I'm doing, I write the tweets and schedule them, and then they are published like every 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and then I reshare the same stuff on several different other sites. So just look for my name on social media sites, and you'll find me.
Yeah, how about you, Bernd?
Yeah, you'll find me if you find Jörg, and the other way around. Yeah,
that's right.
The dynamic duo.
Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for helping us support the World Central Kitchen as well. And we will, I very much wish you the best in your future endeavours, and hopefully we'll get a few more readers to your site and get those forums going as well. We'll get some more visitors going over there. But yeah, lovely. No, thank you very much, and we will go back to the show.